Jim Jones, who had supported her through accusations of adultery, didn't argue or question her when Chrissy revealed things that she had been hiding for years. Instead, he marched out of the house without turning around, letting that sink in. Street fights and TV drama. There were no cuts or edits, just pure chaos, and the leak wasn't just messy, it was agonizing. Chrissy Lannon didn't just lose it, she snapped, and Camron, the man responsible, completely destroyed her life with a single audio leak and a terrifying message. Confirms a long-standing problem and a betrayal that goes deeper than anyone could have imagined. It isn't just reality TV anymore, it's a complete story. Deceit, treachery, and hidden signals. You're about to hear the part they don't want the world to hear because once it's out, there's no turning back. Chrissy Lannon is crying about a leaked film that features Camron Jen Jones. He then got up and left abruptly, as if he was done with the whole dumb. But let's not pretend that this is just another love and hip-hop meltdown because this isn't just messy, it's radioactive. According to some sources familiar with the case, a hidden movie that was allegedly produced years ago just surfaced, showing Camron and Chrissy in a triangle that could be more than just romantic. What's going on behind closed doors, with accusations, reality TV therapy, public breakdowns, and constant Instagram criticism? The timing of this leak is terrible because, depending on who you ask, Jim was allegedly finalizing a commitment to Chrissy, either another proposal or a full-blown elopement situation, when he abruptly left at a private dinner. Chrissy is inconsolable, an insider told us, and she hasn't stopped crying since the movie went viral. She didn't even know it existed, and she's claiming it's not what it is. Jim hasn't returned calls because her friends are worried, and her team is on damage control, said, "I can't do this any longer." To be honest, who can blame him? The video is choppy and grainy, but the voices are clear, and Chrissy's expression is dejected. But this is where things get even worse. Hours after the video went viral, Camron sent out a mysterious tweet that read, "Something should have stayed between us." The message alone sparked a digital firestorm, and many people are now questioning whether this leak was intentional or just an accident. Form of retaliation, a desperate attempt to garner attention because, let's not forget, Camron and Jim haven't been friends for a long time. There is history in old scars, and some people even think that Chrissy was more involved in the breakup than either of them disclosed. Could this video be the last piece of the puzzle, or is it just the start of a new conflict? Go back to the early 2000s and see Camron Jim Jones and Chrissy Lannon enjoying their Harlem life by Ling stardom and street power. Chrissy was always there, and there were rumors that Chrissy wasn't always Jim's alone. Camron once said on a mixtape, "Keep your lady near, or she could wind up with the thought it was just bars." However, it was Chrissy who proposed to Jim on national television. It wasn't just romantic. It was history. A woman defying the odds was a main character, a fire starter, and the emotional center of the whole thing. Back then, however, nothing was ever confirmed. She was first referred to as Jim's girlfriend, then his ride or die, and finally the person who kept him down when no one else would. Backstage tension, eyes, and dubious remarks. Things got sinister when a reliable source from a hip-hop and love production crew there claimed that Christy made references to a relationship with Camron in unreleased video sequences that were never shown. She also said some things that were cut from the show. Expectations and demanding dedication were pushed aside, but there was a lot of grief behind that moment. Now, it seems like all that strength and effort just blew up in her face with a single leak. Abandoned by all but one group member, whom she did not name, but whom we all knew was the one she was referring to. What if that loyalty transcended boundaries? What if Camron was more than just a friend who stood by her? Jim has been strangely silent, with no tweets, Instagram stories, or anything else posted, which is unsettling for someone as outspoken and sensitive as Jim. Some people think he is held captive in Miami, while others think he is being, it's not just the footage, though. It's also the timing. Chrissy was on a podcast this week discussing second chances, trust, and how she was now ready to have a child. She said, "Jim and I are stronger than we've ever been." Who could imagine saying that and then realizing that betrayal is just personal? The internet has become a massive crime lab. They're slowing it down and boosting the audio while comparing tattoos to old photos. Buzzing hashtags are going viral, and Camron Berner's account on a popular gossip page allegedly shared a DM asking, "What if I told you Jim's girl was mine?" Months ago, the question was laughed off and removed, but now it's being screenshotted, shared, and scrutinized like gospel, and everyone is asking the same question. Was this a slow-burning plot or a time bomb that would go off when it hurt the most? You know that, Mama. There is a theory that the entire situation was stage-managed to get hits, contracts, and influence. But if that is the case, someone failed to tell Chrissy that her tears are real, and her breakdown is authentic, and there are many witnesses who believe she had a panic attack at a meeting, shaking and hyperventilating while screaming, "I didn't do this." If that's acting, give her an Oscar. Scott Young is somewhere sipping tea and laughing, planning the reunion. Episode of a lifetime. Fans were quick to analyze every word, even comparing the audio tone to Chrissy's earlier footage and recordings from years ago, where she seemed to mock Ever for being loyal to Jim in an angry voice. She drew it, feeling like betrayal, and the silence between them seemed to be stealing every breath, making her legs weak. She sat at the edge of the velvet couch, silently holding her phone as though it had just destroyed her dreams, including Camron's film, which was not only filthy, but also explosive, and contained what appeared to be voicemail. That had been in place all along. The internet investigators were busy with a message that sent everyone into a panic. The comment section exploded, and Chrissy was plotting the entire time, while Jim was focused on the wrong one. Meanwhile, sources claimed that Jim Jones had left their home in a black SUV with tinted windows, his face expressionless, and he hadn't spoken or texted Christy since the video ended. The silence was more powerful than any yell. Then, there was another shocking discovery. A website that was known for posting shady. At this point, the bloggers weren't just reporting. They were also restocking gossip channels and setting up exclusive interviews about the pair's alleged infidelity. Invoices posted a picture of what they claimed was an old text message between Chrissy and Camron in which Chrissy allegedly wrote, "If this goes wrong, I know Camron," replied with a cheeky emoji, and said, "They simply aren't aware that I got you like I always did." People immediately began to speculate as to whether Chrissy and Camron had a covert affair behind Jim's back, a full-blown betrayal, or something else entirely. Although Chrissy stayed silent on social media, one anonymous source posing as a hairstylist for her social circle revealed information in a now-famous TikTok. Chrissy used to laugh when Cameron's name was brought up as if he wasn't her boyfriend's OP. Jim Jones' Mona Scott, executive producer of Love and Hip Hop, published a mysterious statement with some information, and the industry began to react. She unfollowed Chrissy and Camron on Instagram after seeing a 2007 photo of the two of them in a private backstage setting, with Cam's hand resting low on Chrissy's Yon Dandy Smith, sent out a suspicious tweet saying, "Karma always has the last. Say, don't appear fresh and new when the receipts are always there." Mel, remind me of your comment underneath a blog post. Betrayal will cost you everything. The response was not only digital, but also financial, as several companies Chrissy had partnered with started to distance themselves from a high-end wig firm. She simply pushed one piece of jewelry. Although the incontrovertible proof photo had been ignored in the past, celebrities started to weigh in. According to people close to the rapper, he has been completely absent from Miami, with no public appearances or studio sessions. In fact, a fan posted a blurry picture of him at a South Beach hotel, his face appearing exhausted as if he were dishonest on all fronts. On day 4 of the scandal, public sympathies started to shift while Chrissy was previously seen, and the drama was veering into uncharted territory when Camron hinted at producing a second book as the internet added 10 more layers to the conspiracy. With every minute Chrissy remained silent after a leak involving paperwork that would have put an end to the story. And just when things couldn't get any worse, a new rumor began to circulate that Chrissy might have been the one to sow the seeds of suspicion years earlier, pushing Jim to end his relationship with Cam, control the story, and protect her own secrets. The Ride or Die fans now called her a mastermind, and memes appeared with names like Plot Twist Queen, the real reason Jim never married her, and Chrissy, the invisible villain of DePet. Chrissy's name became well known because, according to those close to the sources, she was disintegrating like never before. She had isolated herself in a remote Hampton villa, avoiding the media and even cutting off contact with her closest friends. One anonymous stylist told a gossip website that she isn't responding to anyone, not even her mother, and that she spends her days crying because the floor is white. The question wasn't whether Chrissy was guilty, but rather how much of Jim's life she had impacted with falsehoods by this point. Cam returned to Instagram with a second live video a week after the first leak, this time dangling a document despite her breakdown. The audience showed no sympathy, instead being hungry for the last straw PDF folder. He simply looked into the camera and nodded for the first 30 seconds, while hundreds of people watched the chat saying, "Stop it and finish it. You wanted answers. Let me explain why Jim stopped trusting the crew and how Deepet broke up." Cam's sheets are covered in makeup and it's dark. And why, in this field, loyalty is a joke. He showed 2 old, blurry pictures on the computer, but what they seem to depict has gone viral on social media. The first image shows Chrissy relaxing next to an unidentified man in a dimly lit room. 5 minutes after he enters the well-lit lounge, Chrissy follows the mystery man with her eyes closed and his arms draped over her shoulder. The picture shows a smiling face and a hotel room door with a camera, but Twitter revealed the man's name less than an hour into the mystery. Some people thought it was a well-known music business executive, while others thought it was a rival rapper who had mocked Jim Jones in a 2015 song. The most bizarre theory was that it was an A-list actress who had a private relationship with Chrissy throughout her musical career and that she wanted a piece of his business music. Regardless of the truth, the story had already changed, and it got worse when a third unidentified person claiming to be Timona Scott's former assistant posted an A woman who sounded a lot like Christy was heard on tape saying, "Camron knows too much. I told him not to say anything because if he flipped, I'm done, and Jim would actually leave me this time." The voice wasn't confirmed, but it didn't matter because the video went viral and attracted attention on blogs. In less than 2 hours, Chrissy's last confession received over 3,000 comments on Reddit threads, and fans began compiling entire films that revealed Chrissy's alleged manipulative tactics over the years when Jim Jones performed alone in a club in New York. He didn't rap or perform. Instead, he stood in the VIP area with his arms crossed and a drink in hand, while the DJ played classic hip-hop songs. When We Fly High started, the crowd started shouting, "Christy of Christy" and "Jim Jones." But he stayed silent and just closed his eyes. Some said he appeared to be praying, while others said he appeared to be repeating each line slowly. She was constantly being watched, according to one anonymous nurse who told a tabloid that she was experiencing extremely high blood pressure. Pressure continued to repeat, "He hates me. He'll never forgive me. It's over," while having difficulty breathing. The fall was almost unrecognizable for someone who had once ruled New York's most dangerous circles with unwavering certainty after a panic attack that almost sent her to the emergency room. Just when the public thought it couldn't get any more venomous, a fourth party joined Jim's candid, unfiltered discourse. "I told you that she wasn't right, and you all called me a hater. You think I missed the little sly glances and the private conversations, but now you know what It was the final straw in Chrissy's public image, the re-or-die turned backstabber. The woman who waited 20 years for a ring now appeared to be ready to re-release an old love and hip-hop movie with a new backdrop, but she never got one, according to a leaked email obtained by a dubious media website. The mother, who is known for keeping it straight, went live on Facebook and emotionally and mentally pulled Chrissy by her weave. Now that it's although Chrissy was still missing, someone close to her allegedly tried to contact Jim with a handwritten note that seeped into the dark room saying, "I fans were split, with half feeling sorry for her. I don't want forgiveness, I want the truth." Game Time wasn't just about betrayal, it was about rewriting history. Brands weren't just ending their relationship with Chrissy, they were suing. Another partnership tried to prevent Chrissy from claiming to be their ambassador. The man who had stood by her side through thick and thin was now out here alone and focused. And if the rumors are true, he is already being approached by record labels. The other half broke down, but he said it was too late. Jim was pictured, days later, without his engagement ring and firms and streaming platforms to tell his story in a full-length documentary series. But Camron is still trolling, and Chrissy is still hidden. I tried to warn them not to be weaponized. I wasn't perfect, but I never wanted to ruin you. I loved you even when I lost myself. He did this by sharing a final meme with the message, "Love, don't pay attention." Immediately after, the internet responded, Camron Jim, the victim, the king of minor crime, and Chrissy, the betrayal blueprint, are not sorry. Closure is just a mess.